Hello, everyone. I hope you're ready to learn a lot about things in motion. You'll see what the lesson is about in a moment. Sorry, I seem to have a box under my desk. Let me move that for a sec. There we go. I don't want to be kicking it. We'll start in about 26 seconds once I make sure everything is working properly. Sounds like the sound is working. So we'll start in about 12 seconds. My phone says that there's a winter storm warning for today. It's for later today, though, not for right now. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello and welcome to this English lesson about things in motion. In this lesson, we'll look at words like ripple and jiggle and hover and vibrate. I don't want to give too many things away, but I think it will be an exciting lesson, and you'll see why once I get the lesson started. But as we look around the world around us, things do move, and we have different verbs and different words to describe that motion. When you see a butterfly, when you see a rock land in water, certain things happen, and we have certain words to describe what's happening. So in this English lesson, I'll look at things in motion. I think you'll enjoy this lesson a lot. Hey, before we get started, a big thank you to Mohd Ags for coming up with the topic. And his topic idea pushed me to change a little bit how the lesson works. You'll see in a moment. Normally over here, I have a word and a picture, and I will have that and something a little extra. I'm going to say hi to people. Hi to Mohd Ags especially. Hi to Dave. Thanks for being here to moderate. Good morning to Tony, Mohd Ags again, Eugene, Orkan, Noriko, Vitor. Let me scroll back. Irina, Freddie Wolf, Fabian, Noriko, know that. I'm going to repeat names now. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to Wanda Prado as well. Good to see all of you here. I was going to say something. I was a little rushed this morning, so I think I have everything in place. I think I've clicked all the right buttons. Remember, if you are here and you would like to chat in English, please do that. This is a great time to practice your English reading and writing skills at the same time as listening to me. Please, if you have a question, please make sure it's on topic. Make sure it's about things in motion. And then please use the form to submit that question. And I will pause from time to time during the lesson to answer a few questions. Let me have a sip of water here. And I see Eugene saying we're going to get 30 millimeters of snow. It might come as rain down here. Mohd says, Bob the Canadian has a trick up his sleeve today. Yes, I used my technological prowess to make a small change. But anyways, let me double check the audio and we will get this lesson started. Yeah, I think everything's working great. Here we go. So absorb. When you have a cloth, or I think this is actually a sponge, and you need to wipe something up, if there is liquid somewhere, you use something that will absorb it. It's too bad there isn't a way for me to show you this. Pictures just don't really tell the whole story. Let me see if I can do something here. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, there is some coffee or tea spilled on the countertop or table here. And the person is using, I think it's a sponge, to wipe it up. The sponge will absorb the liquid. When something absorbs something, it means it goes into it. So sponges do this really well. Paper towels do this really well. Whenever you clean up some kind of liquid, it's nice to have something that will absorb it. So let me just stop the video now so that we can not be too distracted, and let me once more explain. When something absorbs, it means it literally goes inside of it. When you're done using a sponge, after it has absorbed all the liquid, you do wring it out above the sink and all the liquid comes out again. Drip. So this is something that happens on the tap in our bathroom upstairs. I still need to replace something inside the tap because it will drip. after you brush your teeth or after you wash your hands, you turn the tap off, but it will still drip for a while. I think it just needs a washer, I think it's called. And I think I'll have to watch a YouTube video in order to figure out how to do it. By the way, I do stop or pause the video example after a while. It's not broken. I just don't want it to be too distracting. When we get to words like slide, you'll see why, because I think some of these might even make people feel a little bit motion sick. Anyways, taps sometimes drip, and then you need to fix them. So emit, we can use this to describe a lot of things. When you start your car, it will emit exhaust. When you turn on a flashlight, it will emit light. When you use the word emit, it means to come out of something. So those are the two best examples. When I start my van, it emits exhaust, some pollution actually. Probably not a good thing. And when I turn on the headlights, they will emit light. Now, this isn't a super common word. We usually use it mostly when talking about pollution. A factory will emit a lot of pollution through the year, but it is a word you will hear and use from time to time. Flap. So flap is an interesting one. Flap is a word we use to describe something like a flag where it's attached at one end. So you can see this flag is attached to the pole, and then it moves at the other end. And we even use it to describe the sound. This flag is probably making a flapping sound, like Popup, Popup. That's my best sound effect. But you can see that flap means to be attached at one end and then to move, usually in the wind, at the other end. I think flags do this. I'm trying to think. Sometimes when you're driving, if something gets, like a plastic bag gets caught on your car, it will flap in the wind and make a flapping sound. And then flicker. So the best way to describe flicker is a light source that gets brighter and dimmer. A candle is a great example. A candle will flicker. It'll both move and become brighter and dimmer. That's how we would describe that flicker. But sometimes when there's a windstorm, the lights in our house will flicker as well. They don't move, but they go on and off really rapidly. So it has a couple of different meanings, I guess. Definitely when I look at this candle, I feel like it is flickering in the sense that it's moving, but it's also getting brighter and dimmer. So it's kind of doing two things, moving and getting brighter and dimmer. Flip. So we sometimes turn on lights. In order to turn on a light, we might flip a switch. In order to turn off a light, we might flip a switch. By the way, this isn't a switch in my house. But let me just explain again, because I'm using the word switch and the word flip. So the switch is the thing on the wall. If I want to turn on the lights, I can flip the switch. If I want to turn off the lights, I can flip the switch. So you'll notice, by the way, this lesson is called Things in Motion, but I am describing some actions that people do as well. Float. So one thing I like to do when I go to the pool, sometimes we go to a pool, is I like to swim out to the middle and just float. I am able to, if I just relax, I will float. When you float, it means you are on top of the water. So this flower is floating. It's light enough that it doesn't sink. That's the opposite. If I am floating on the water, if I don't relax, I will sink. I'll go under the water. So when you float, you're on top of the water. When you sink, you go under the water. There are many things that float. A boat will float, of course. If you throw a beach ball in the water, it will float. Even a soccer ball will float if you put it in the water. So when you float, or when something floats, it is laying on top of the water and it doesn't sink. And then flutter. So when you see a butterfly, it will flutter its wings. So flutter means anytime something moves like this. It's similar to flap, by the way. A flag can flutter in the wind as well, but it's anytime something goes back and forth rapidly. So when you see a butterfly, it is a really good example. A butterfly's wings will flutter. They'll go up and down, and they'll just fly around by having their wings go up and down. They will flutter. Hey, let's get to some questions for this lesson. I'm happy that all my little video slides are working. I hope you like that. I wasn't looking at the chat when I started, but I did think that I've been wanting to do lessons where I show actions or motion, and I knew there would be a way to do it. But then when Mohd Ags sent me a message last week saying, hey, could you do one with the word flicker and the word slide and those actions, I thought, I really need to spend some time to figure out how to do this. So it was a bit of a process, but eventually I was able to figure it out. It involved downloading the videos from a stock video website that I pay for, converting them to animated GIFs, and then figuring out how to get them into my presentation software. Enough details though. Let's look at the questions. Here we go. Sally says, what is the movement of lightning and thunder called? So lightning strikes and thunder, you might say thunder rolls because you hear the rolling thunder. It's not the right use of the word roll. Roll usually means when something goes along the ground, but I would say lightning strikes the earth and thunder rolls. Now, I think thunder rolls is more of a poetic use. You'll hear it in a song possibly, but that is how I would describe them. Next question from Kergo. Hi, Teacher Bob. It's quite strange, but when I want to sleep and I almost sleep, my body is just twitching. A good weekend ahead. Thanks for an amazing animated lesson as well. No problem. It was fun to put together. I have really enjoyed it. Andre says, hello, Mr. Bob. Our English is moving forward. I have heard turn the lights out. It's correct. Yes. So we turn the lights on or we turn the lights off. Usually we say turn the lights off. You might also say, can you flip the lights on or flip the lights off? You're actually talking about the switch though. The flip is the action of actually moving the switch. But in class, I might say, I'm just going to turn the lights off, or can someone flip the lights off? Both would be common. Oh, Mahdi in the chat says, thunder, the sound of thunder is called rumble. I agree. Yes, I think rumble would be the more common way to describe thunder. Thanks, Mahdi, and good to see you, by the way. Let's see here. Noriko. Hi, this lesson reminds me of the lesson describing things. Absorb sounds like a big word for me. Do kids use this verb? Sop up versus absorb, which is common. Sip, sip. I will do the sip, sip first. Yeah, kids would use the word absorb, but it's probably more of an adult word. I need something to absorb all this liquid. We would probably just say wipe up. Sop up would work as well, but wipe up would probably be a more common way to say it. Let's see here. Orman says, hello, Mr. Bob. Can you recommend some books to read in English for B2 level? So at the B2 level, any book that you would read as an adult in your own language, you should be able to read in English. So you should be reading common bestsellers. So check out the New York Times bestseller book list and pick a book from there. At the B2 level, you should be able to read anything that a native English speaker could read. Ario, hola, Mr. Bob, how are you? I didn't quite understand what the topic is about. Could you please explain it to me? Yes, I wanted to show clips of things in motion or in action, and I had a hard time coming up with a title, so I just called it Things in Motion. Basically, I'm describing anything that moves. Normally, for most of these, it's not a human doing it. For some, it is, but it's basically actions that happen or things that happen with things. Hopefully that makes a bit more sense, Ario. Let's see here. Winter Right. Hi, Bob. Long time no see. Hi, Winter Right. If I feel my skin is itchy and I want to use anything to remove the itch, what is the verb of this motion? Have a nice day. So, just a sec. I'm going to hide over here. Generally, if something is itchy, you will scratch it. You can scratch it with your hand, but you could also scratch it with something else. Like I could use this is a bad example, but like I could, if this was really itchy, I could use my keys to scratch as well. It's the same verb for that action, whether you do it with your hand or with something else. Okay, let me see here. We're going to move on with the lesson in a sec. Yeah, Graph is asking about other types of motion. I think what you will see from me over the next little while, the Friday lessons with the new animated or video style, I'm going to try and focus on actions, motions, maybe even some phrasal verbs that have motion in them. So I'll try to cover as many things as I can in that respect. Let me have one more sip and we'll get back to the lesson. Yes, I see Katarina saying, oh, it's a very cool lesson. Lesson in motion. Yes, the lesson itself is in motion. So fold. Again, remember I said some of these are actually actions that humans do. If you have a piece of paper and if you're doing what this person is doing, we would say that you are folding. When you fold something, it's usually in one form and then you kind of put it on top of each other. We do use this to talk about other things as well, but I don't want to confuse you. Focus on this. He has a piece of paper. He has decided he wants to fold the piece of paper. So he is making it smaller. Maybe you need to fold a piece of paper before you put it in an envelope. Maybe you need to fold paper to make something like you're doing origami or something like that. But when you fold, you take something that's relatively flat and then you don't cut it, you just kind of bend it. It's probably a bad word to use, but you literally fold it. You fold by folding. So that's my description of that one. Hover. So lately there have been more and more drones in the world. One of the things that a drone can do is it can hover. That means it's not going up, it's not going down, it's not going sideways, it's not going left or right or forwards or backwards. It is staying in one spot. When a helicopter hovers, it stays in one spot in the air. That's the key thing. It's not on the ground, it's in the air. So this drone is hovering. It's able to hover because inside the computer has decided that it's going to tell the blades to spin and keep the drone in one spot in the air. So again, when something hovers, it means it's flying, it's in the air, but it's not moving in any direction. A hummingbird will often hover as it's going around getting whatever it gets from flowers. I don't know what the name is. Jiggle. This is my favorite video of all of them. Jiggle is a fun word to say as well. Anytime you have something like this is Jello, by the way. It's something we make as a dessert, but you'll see that it's very jiggly. When you move it a little bit, it keeps moving afterwards in this very unique way. So you can see that as they drop the red piece of Jello onto the green piece of Jello, everything will jiggle. So again, jiggle is a fun word to say. Jiggling, this is jiggling, is an even more fun word to say. So try to practice that a few times. Jiggle. Pop. So when you have a balloon and you have a pin, and if you touch the balloon with the pin, it will pop. It will go from being full of air to having no air. This can happen with other things, but I think a balloon is probably the most common thing to talk about. You can see this girl. She's very enthusiastic at the end. Have you noticed that? I'm being sarcastic. But she has a balloon. The balloon is full of air. When she touches the balloon with the pin, the balloon pops. It pops because all the air comes out very, very rapidly. But this is different than pop up. When you put toast in a toaster, you wait for it to pop up. So you put the bread in the toaster. Notice when I put it in the toaster, it's bread. And then I put it down. So when you put bread in the toaster, you put the toaster down. And then you wait for it to pop up. With our toaster, sometimes you have to pop it up yourself. I push a button so that my toast will pop up, because I feel like if I wait too long, the toast might burn. So a little different than pop. It's has the word up, but when you have toast in a toaster that's done, it will pop up. Reflect. So when something will reflect something, it means you see a copy of it. If you look at the water here, the water is able to reflect the image of the girl. The light that's hitting the girl also hits the water, and you see her reflection. So when you look in a mirror is polished and it's able to reflect light. The light that hits the mirror comes back out again. So that means if you look in a mirror, it will reflect your image and you'll be able to see yourself. So it has another meaning as well. It means to think about the past. So here's a sentence for you. I think as she walks along the beach, you can see the water reflect her image as she reflects about the past. So there you go. Ripple. So when you throw a rock or something else in water, the water will ripple, okay? The water will make little tiny waves as it moves out from the center. So you'll see here that someone is throwing a rock or a pebble into the water. It immediately lands and the water goes bloop. That's the sound it makes, bloop. And then little waves kind of move out from the center I think you would call them concentric circles. Someone will have to check that for me. But it's pretty cool. As a kid, I used to go down to the river and we would throw rocks in the river, and then we would watch the water ripple after we did that. It's fun to watch the little waves and see how far they go. Roll. You might think something's not, oh, there it goes. I was worried something wasn't happening here. Whenever something is turning and moving along the ground, we would say it is rolling. So when you go bowling, the ball will roll along the floor. When you kick a soccer ball, it will bounce a few times, but eventually it will roll along the grass. You could even say this, like if you had a tire and you took it off of a vehicle, you could roll it into your garage. So anytime you have something that's either round or even a sphere, and as it goes along the ground or the floor, so it's moving in a direction, it's turning itself, we would say that, describe that as roll. Dave says, I think concentric is the right word. Good. Okay, let me see here. I think I'm going to go to members only questions. It's a little bit early, but I do want to check where I am. No, maybe I'll go another 5 minutes. No, let's do members only now. No, let's do 3 more minutes of the lesson because I'm doing something new. I'm having trouble knowing how far along I am. So let's do a few more. Roll around. If you have a chair with wheels on it, you can roll around. So we add this extra word around to the word roll. So if I am at work, I can roll around on my chair. I can roll back. I can roll forwards. I can roll over and talk to someone. I can roll around. So again, it's using the word roll, and it's using it to describe something that turns as it moves. But it kind of means that you can go in any direction. And if you've ever done yoga or any kind of exercise, when you're done, you need to roll up your mat. So when you roll something up, you start at one end and you just start kind of turning it and moving it along the floor as you turn it, and eventually it will be rolled up. If you have a carpet, you might roll up the carpet. If you have a mat, you might roll up the mat. So anytime you turn something in order to make it more compact, or to, get it ready to store or put away, you would roll it up. Okay, let's do members only now. I think I'm at the right point in the lesson. Let me get that turned on. At the same time, I will have a sip of water and I will talk about what members are. Members are people who support me. They have decided that they either want to thank me for my work, or they want to make it so it's easier for me to buy things to make the channel work better. And there's a join button down below. If you click it, you'll get a better explanation of what it is. If you are a member, you get to talk in the chat during members only chat, which is right now. You can ask questions. You get an extra video on Wednesdays. You get a really nice little lesson plan every Monday morning, a written lesson plan of things you can do during the week to practice your English. And I think that's it. In general, most people who become members do enjoy it, and I do appreciate it. So thank you. Let's look at a question from the forum, and then we'll look at questions from the chat. Freddie, the French guy. Hi, Bob. When you put sugar... Oh, okay, let me fix this. When you put sugar out on a humid day, it will absorb the humidity by capillarity before dissolving. Oh, let me rephrase this. We're not going to use humidity. When you put sugar in a liquid, it will absorb the liquid by capillary action, or capillary. I don't know how to pronounce it, before dissolving. So the water actually goes into the sugar, and then the sugar cube will dissolve, or the sugar will dissolve. And then a hummingbird is hovering while flying. Do you agree? I think when it stops moving, it's hovering, but if it's moving forward, it's flying. So, hey, Mohd says, thanks for taking the time to do this. Fun. Yes, I'm happy to be able to do it. It was on my list of things to do during this semester because I'm working a little bit less. So I'm happy I was able to do it. Okay, from the chat, here we go. We have, oh, look, you can see I left my tripod out. Usually I clean up a little bit before I do these lessons. Noriko, today's slides are moving. Easy to imagine. Thank you for your hard work. By the way, I would use the verb wobble when I saw the picture of the verb jiggle. Could you explain the difference between them? So I would use wobble to talk about more of a solid object kind of doing this and then maybe falling over. It would wobble first. I have a slide coming up where I'm going to talk about topple. And before the things in that picture topple, they wobble a bit. And I would use jiggle when something is kind of, it's almost liquidy a little bit. Mohd says, the lesson is going really well so far, Mr. Bob. You're nailing it. No need to panic. Thanks, Mohd. I'm a little on pins and needles when I try something new. So I'm glad things are working well. Vitor says, hi to Lolly, who is not here today, but I'm sure she's going to watch on replay. Wishing her a speedy recovery. So Lolly usually is here. Lolly has been one of, if not the most, what was I going to say here? Longest standing member, possibly. She's got to be close. And person who has attended the most live streams. Lolly has been around for a while. So Harry 300, birds. Bob, birds flap or flutter their wings? So we would say they flap their wings. Flutter would be used for something with really tiny wings, almost like paper, like a butterfly. But you could also say a butterfly flaps its wings. But when I imagine something flapping its wings, I imagine a bird. When I imagine something fluttering around, I imagine a butterfly. Freddie Wolf, I don't need any more to listen Bob's lesson in slow motion. All is understandable at normal speed. Very cool. By the way, I've always listened to your lesson in normal speed because you articulate all the words very well. Well, thank you very much, Freddie. I'm glad you were able to understand at normal speed. Cool. Mohd says, tables and chairs can wobble. Yeah, like a table with one leg shorter or a desk can wobble. Yaroslav, this lesson is so wonderful. You have surprised all of us, Teacher Bob. Yes, I have done something fun. So as we go forward, let's see here. From Mikhailo, hello, Mr. Teacher Bob. Today I have no questions, but I cannot make respect for the topic. It's really awesome. Have all the best. Thank you very much for that, for sure. Let's see. I'm going to check something here. Yaroslav, member for 11 months. Mohd Ags, member for 23 months. Amazed by that lesson. Keep it up, says Yaroslav. Thanks, Yaroslav. By the way, it wasn't as much work as I thought. The way I do things is if I learn something new, I learn about 4 or 5 ways to do it. And then I eventually figure out the way that's the quickest and easiest. And then I start to trim that method down. So it only took me an hour to put the slides together. So I did kind of do less than normal. There's only 25 today. But I think that I can keep making lessons like this fairly easily. Okay, we're going to go back to the lesson. I know members only chat was short today, but if you still have questions as a member, I will answer them. I think there's one popping in right now, but I'm going to switch back and then I'm going to try not to click all the wrong buttons, which I do sometimes. There we go. John Wedge, hey guys, are you having a bit of video freeze over there? I'm watching myself, John, and I'm not seeing that. We'll ask Dave if he's seeing anything in a minute. He'll let us know. So let me see here. Okay. Click here, click here. Let me have a sip of water. And let's get back to the lesson. So Dave says, yes, it's frozen once or twice for me. Okay, interesting. I wonder if the freezing, I'll have to watch it on replay. I wonder if it's me freezing or the video clip freezing. Maybe Dave can figure that out. We live on the planet Earth, and the planet Earth turns. You could also say that it rotates. The planet Earth rotates on its axis. So this means that it's turning around a center point. So turn and rotate are very similar. Spin is very similar. The difference between spin and rotate, I think, is simply, for me, speed. You could say that the Earth spins on its axis. You could say it rotates on its axis. I think either would work. Now, rotate can also be used to describe, like if I had a piece of paper on a table, I could rotate it so the person sitting opposite me could read it. So it's any time you spin something. Slide. So this is the one where I hope this doesn't give you motion sickness. When something slides, this person is sliding. It means it moves along a surface in a very smooth way. So you'll see that this person is able to slide down the water slide because the water is slippery. The other day I was able to slide on the ice. So there's no wheels when you slide. There's nothing other than the object or person and the thing that they are on. So a water slide is a really good example. I could also, if I was sitting at a table, I could slide this glass over to you. I could slide it over. You might see that in a TV show every once in a while. If someone goes to a bar, they'll slide a glass down the bar so the person can catch it. Yes, when two things move like that, we would say that they are sliding. And spin. So remember I said rotate and spin are very similar. This is a top. As a kid, I had a top and I would spin it. And then it would spin for a very long time until eventually it wobbled and fell over. So there's the word wobble for you. Notice I was making my hand go like this. As you watch this spin, it does actually wobble a little bit too while it's spinning. So that's a good example of two things in motion. The top is spinning and the top will also wobble a little bit. And sway. So you can see these beautiful flowers by this lake they're kind of moving back and forth, kind of slowly. Notice too, I'm making my arm kind of move gracefully. So when something sways, it means to move back and forth, usually really, really slowly. Like you can watch trees sway in the wind. You can watch flowers sway in the wind. You wouldn't use this to describe people though. People don't normally sway. But when something sways, it moves kind of one way and the other. And usually it's because the wind is blowing. And swing. So here's another action where there is a person involved. This person will swing the bat after the pitcher pitches the ball. So boom, right there, that is a swing. Now, swing can be used to describe anything similar to flap, but it's a very quick, definite action. Like a bat can swing. Let me think of another example. If you have an old clock and it has a pendulum, the pendulum will swing back and forth. In fact, that might have been a better video clip than this one. Maybe I should have looked for one where there was a clock with a pendulum that would swing back and forth. But anyways, this is a good example too, I think. And here we have topple. So there's a couple things going on here. A sugar cube falls and hits the other sugar cubes. If you watch, the stack of sugar cubes will wobble a little bit and then it will topple. So topple is anytime you have things either stacked up or something that's relatively high and it falls over. The sugar cubes are a great example. But even when there's an old building and sometimes they demolish the building, they use explosives to demolish the building. You would say that the building falls over, or you would say it topples. So it's a fun word to say as well, isn't it? Topple. I like watching. This is probably the best video example I could find for the word, for all the words I'm doing today. You have a stack of sugar cubes and then it topples. Perfect example. And then vibrate. So this is a tuning fork. You can see when this person hits the tuning fork, it's in slow motion, but it starts to rapidly move back and forth. So when you use the word vibrate, you're talking about something that's moving very, very quickly and not very far and at the same speed kind of. So it's cool in slow motion because you can see the tuning fork vibrate and it's probably going or some note. I don't have perfect pitch, by the way, but it's cool to see things vibrate. If you look at a speaker in a sound system playing music, you will see the speaker vibrate as it recreates the sounds. So I know it might seem like this was a very short lesson, and that's because it was. I didn't want to do a super long lesson today trying out something new, but we did cover 25 words of motion. So hopefully you were able to learn some new things. I think overall the lesson went well. I will rewatch it myself to see. I'm going to answer a few questions and then I'm going to talk a little bit about tomorrow. Tomorrow is cool because there's a live stream in the morning on my channel. I'm going to be on someone else's channel on a live stream tomorrow as well with Avery from Arc English. I don't know if you know Avery, but let me check if there are questions. Let's see here. BM says, when you spin, do you feel dizziness? Yes. If I spin myself around really rapidly for a long time, eventually I get dizzy. That's how we say it in English. You say you get dizzy or I feel dizzy. Both of those would be a good way to describe it. Let's see. Mohd says it was a great lesson, Mr. Bob. No doubt about that. Talk about creativity. Well, thanks, Mohd. It was fun to build and fun to do. Let me see if there's another question here. This is from Axmed. Hello, teacher. Can I say the pen ended? We usually say my pen ran out. When you're trying to write and your pen doesn't have any more ink in it, you say, my pen ran out. So it means that all of the ink in the pen is gone and it no longer works. That's how we would describe when a pen stops working. Okay, so let's see. Noriko says, it went well. It froze a few times, but it's not a big deal at all. Cool. I'll have to figure out why it did that. I'm sure we can fix it. I'm wondering what froze, whether I froze and the clip froze or just the clip froze. Maybe one or both. We'll see. What was I going to say? Okay, 2 things, 3 things, maybe 4 things. Number 1, this lesson will come out in a shorter version in a couple days. I will remove the viewer questions and it will just be a pure lesson about things in motion. So do take time to watch that or listen to it to reinforce what you have learned. Number 2, I am doing a live stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. It will be a Q&A or question and answer live stream. You can ask any questions you want and I will answer them. And then number 3, with Avery from Arc English, I will be on a live stream on his channel tomorrow at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I will post a link to that on our community page so that you know where it is when we go live. But do come over and you can, I think it's an open question live stream as well. I don't know. I'm meeting with Avery tomorrow to talk about it. But yes, so watch this one again. Tomorrow morning, there will be a live stream here, Q&A. It won't be outside. It's too cold still. And then I will be on another live stream with Avery from Arc English, a fellow Canadian. And Mohd says, yes, I know Avery from Arc English. Rod interviewed him. Yes, that's true. In the past, I'll make sure to be there and root for you, Mr. Bob. Well, thanks, Mohd. That's cool. Yeah, and I will post a link to that live stream as well. Well, hey, thanks for watching. I think I'm going to wrap this up and head off to work. I'll keep testing out the video clips instead of images. And, you know, I'll still do lessons where it's just images when it makes sense. But if I do lessons where motion or showing actions, if it's just better to show a video clip, I'll build lessons like that. I'll probably do quite a few video clip lessons over the next few weeks just to try it out. Dave says, I just jumped back about 10 minutes in the stream and it looks like things might have dropped out on your end because there's a section where things skip. Okay, so I'll have to check that. I have no dropped frames here, but maybe it was just a simple live stream glitch. Anyways, thanks for watching. Thanks, Dave, for helping out. Thanks to all of my members for talking in the chat and showing folks how things are done. And thanks to everyone else who was here as well. Let's see. Bye to John Wedge, Mohd Ags, Yaroslav, Key Park, Dave the Canadian, Noriko, Sophia, Nada, there's Perez, Ralph, Freddie Wolf. Bye to everyone. Have a great weekend. Hopefully I see you tomorrow. And I'm going to head off to work now. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. Oh, bye to Naomi as well. And Sean Bean. Oh, it's not Bean Sean now. It's Sean Bean. Little change there. I am actually going to click the